Hey kids, welcome back into A Dead Man's Books. Today we are going to continue our dystopia run as we venture into the world of big tech. This is something that has really rapidly grown in my lifetime, and now that we're at the dawn of artificial intelligence really taking off, I think that a lot of people are concerned about the direction that it's heading. Obviously, there have been useful tools for artificial intelligence, but there's also some things that I think people are nervous about. But also the thing that has come along with these tech companies and social media has been that of data sharing. The thought that everything is available to anyone, that someone has access to us at all times. I think about having an Amazon Alexa. When you have an Alexa, she's always listening. The same thing with our phones. If you try to talk about something over and over, you will see an ad pop up for that in your social media feed. It's kind of unsettling for some, and for some people, it's also just a part of life, not anything insidious at all. But what if it was? What if these tech companies were actually using this data to find ways to push themselves to the top? And when I say the top, I mean world domination. That's the thought I think some people have. I think that there is probably some concern there that is validated for those people who are concerned with that. So, without waiting any longer, today I am joined by my friend Hannah Randolph. She teaches right next door to me, and she's a great reader, and we've enjoyed teaching with each other this year. And we are reading Dave Eggers' book, The Circle. This is your first time here, or at least the first time recording. What's your favorite book and why?
Well, that's a hard question. I feel like some days I would say Duma Key by Stephen King, because I think it's underrated. I think it's not talked about as one of his best books. But then other times, I would say Perks of Being a Wallflower. I've done all of my college projects over Perks of Being a Wallflower. It's a book I would love to teach, but I feel like I can't.
I've never read a Stephen King book. Do you judge me for that?
I don't judge you for it,
Okay.
no. Do you like horror books?
I mean, they're all right. Every one that I've read, I've given a 3 stars to. So,
Okay.
yeah.
He's probably my favorite author.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I think it's Crockett's too, isn't it?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, today we're going to talk about The Circle by Dave Eggers. And this is my third Eggers. How many have you read?
This is my first Eggers.
What did you think about his writing?
I've read this book twice now. I read it back in 2021, and then I did a quick reread when you asked me to podcast it. The first time I read it, it was just for fun. I read it as a beach read, and I would say it was a perfect beach read. It's simple. It's pretty easy to read. I feel like it's lacking in some areas, and I caught on to more of that reading it again, knowing that we were going to be discussing it. But overall, I mean, it's a quick read.
Yeah.
It's a quick, easy read.
Yeah. Especially to be 500 pages.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like a 500-page book.
I was surprised at how fast I read it. I thought it would take me about a week and a half, and I think I read it in 5 days, which is pretty fast.
Well, I started my reread of it Tuesday night.
Oh, yeah, you burned through it.
Yeah. I started it Tuesday night, and I finished it last night. So
That's
Thursday
2
night.
days.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
It's a quick read.
Yeah, very quick.
Quick read.
Well, I guess, how would you describe The Circle? With the people that I've been talking to about it, I've been saying that it's like, to me, it seems like it's Apple, Meta, Google, and considering all that's happened in Washington, I would throw Elon Musk, I guess the Boring Company in there as well.
Yeah.
So like all these things as one, as opposed to just like
You'd have
Apple.
one account.
Yeah.
So it merges all of your online activity, your social media, any websites you order from, it's all in one place.
It's like a single sign-on, like we have.
Yeah.
So instead of having all these
Yeah.
multiple passwords,
Right.
you go to the Circle.
Right.
Also, your Apple Wallet would be
In there.
and you would just pay for everything through that.
Right. Your streaming would all be in there.
Mhm. It's like the Walmart of social media, I guess.
Or the Amazon.
Or the Amazon. It already exists.
Throw Amazon in there.
No.
Woo!
Oh, no.
We're already getting the Circle.
Oh, gosh.
Well, no, I think about, there's an app called the Shop app, and I used it one time on a website, like a clothing website, and the next website I went to a couple months later, it also used the Shop app, and my card was already saved, my address was already saved, but I had never ordered from that website before. So I didn't even have to create an account on the website because the Shop app had all of my information. So that's what it made me think of when I was doing my reread. I realized, I was like, man, the Shop app is very similar to what some of this is talking about.
I think it's a good idea. I think I could see this as something that could happen in the near future.
Yeah.
But I mean, it would have to take because you would have to have all these tech companies agree, essentially, right? That we're going to be a part. So someone huge would have to show up to the party.
Well, that was one of the questions that I wrote down to ask you was, does this tech seem futuristic to you, or does it seem possible?
I think it seems possible.
I do too.
Yeah, futuristically possible.
I do too, but like not even in the super far future. Like seems like we're already in parts of it.
I think so.
Like
in more ways than
he meant for this to be a dystopian book, but I don't know how dystopian it felt to me.
Yeah.
Especially during a reread.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's what I was saying in one of my notes earlier on. There were some things that were, or later on, there were some things that were popping up, especially when it got into like the political side of things that I was kind of like, ooh, that might actually be happening right now. Yeah. On here, we try not to take a side politically, so this is just like observing, right? But at the inauguration this year, you had all those tech guys who were up there, like Zuckerberg,
your
and
oligarchs.
Yeah, but previously they were against this presidency, and now the second time around, they're all about it. And we talked about yesterday how, I mean, Elon Musk was in the White House taking questions.
Oh, yeah.
It's a good thing no one listens to this because the tech companies would take it down, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I don't know, that kind of scared me a little bit.
Yeah.
Shouldn't say scared. It gave me an eerie feeling.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can remember Inauguration Day sitting watching it and the camera panning, and you had Mark Zuckerberg, you had Elon Musk, you had Jeff Bezos, and it's like, what an odd thing. I would have never thought I would be seeing them at a presidential inauguration.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was so out of place.
I know, that's what I'm saying. It was weird to see that because the first time around, they were against the presidency. Now with this one, they may even be calling the shots, you know?
Yeah.
So. But I do think that the technology is possible.
I do too.
Yeah.
I see it.
So let's just go ahead and start from the beginning, and we'll try to run through this because unlike other episodes, we're crunched for time because we have a class next.
Yeah.
So when May first arrives at the Circle, I felt like that. I hope I'm saying this correctly. Renata was kind of like our data stored in one place, you know, because she knew everything about May. And when she had the old yearbook photo of May, I was thought that was kind of freaky, but it made sense after you understood the relationship between her and Annie.
Right.
What did you think though about her first few days at the Circle? Her as a character, I guess, because she definitely has a character arc in this one, and I've been using it as an example in our classes lately, because we were talking about we have in our notes at the climax of the plot that the character has like a full change,
right?
And that's what I was trying to explain to the students is that doesn't necessarily mean a good thing, you know?
Yeah. So you can see a character go from self-conscious, innocent to a dark side.
Yeah. Full-fledged,
yeah,
fully submerged.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes. Well, I feel like her first few days at the Circle, there were some things that made me cringe. Well, to start off, I feel like hearing about her background at the utility company and things that she disagreed with and disliked about the utility company, I think starting off at a place like the Circle, especially if I'm thinking about it as like a real life place, like I've seen pictures of Google's campuses and Facebook's campuses or Meta's campuses. Yeah. I think it would be pretty cool to go to this place and see all of these amenities that they have for their employees and this community that they're trying to build. That was a big word in the book, the community. And all of these parties that they throw every night and the staff events. I think at first that would be a really cool thing. You would think, man, look at all this available to me. Oh, if I'm too tired to go home, I can stay in one of the dorms. There's a shopping closet that I can go get free items. It seemed very positive and exciting. And I think, May was impressed by that because she kept looking back at the utility company, even with like her bosses now at the Circle praising her for work on her first day. She was like, well, man, it would take me months to know how I was doing at the utility company. I'd have to wait until a performance review, and I'm getting feedback my first day. But then to get to the cringy part, a few days in, I think it had been like a week, she gets called to her boss's office, and she has this confrontation with her boss and another employee, and it was just so cringeworthy, where it was like, you've really hurt Alistair's feelings. You didn't come to his Portugal brunch. Party, and she's like, what even is this? I think that would soul the place for me.
Yeah.
Did you cringe at that part?
I did. It kind of triggered me a little bit because it reminded me of working at Averett, because there was a lot of cubes there and thinking that you were doing a really good job. And every now and then you might get like a little message that was like, hey, good job on that call. You wouldn't know that your boss was monitoring you. Yeah. And then you would be like, oh, shoot. Well, thank you. And then you would get called up to the main cube and it would be kind of like, hey, you need to sit down. We got to have a talk. So it was... I think it was more triggering for me on that, but I think for me, at the beginning, May felt so human, She was excited to be there, but there are things that she was still kind of, I don't know that I like this. And so when stuff like that was happening, I thought that this would kind of keep her grounded on her humanity. But,
she felt real.
Yeah.
She felt like I could see parts of myself in May at the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Because she wasn't like constantly updating social media and all those things. But I think that these, each time that she has, I guess, a meeting with her superiors, she gets driven deeper and deeper and deeper into the Circle. So, which, I guess for me, I can relate to that because even now, if I get called to talk to one of our bosses, I'm like, okay, I will work even harder than before. So I can understand that.
I get that too, but then at the same time, like to bounce off of that I think that was one of the parts that irritated me though about May and the story overall. I feel like I would have been irritated at some of these things, and I feel like May never tried to be like, whoa, I don't understand this. Yeah. Where, back to the Portugal thing, the Portugal brunch with Alistair, that felt very immature, middle school, high school. You hurt my feelings. You didn't RSVP and then you didn't show up. She didn't even know about it. Yeah. And she was immediately like, I'm so sorry. Yeah. I think I would have walked away from that and been like, are you kidding me? That was a waste of my time. Why did I have to stop my work to go up to the office to sit down and have this immature conversation? That would make me not feel like an adult.
Yeah.
And May never had that.
Well, even when I know that this is later in the notes, but even when she has her meeting with Eamon, she never questions, why am I doing this? and championing this, and
Yeah.
you're not, and
Or none
Annie's
of the
not.
wise men.
None
Yeah.
of the group of 40 were.
Yeah.
So she never once questions the circle at all. She just said, when they tell her to do something, she just says, "Okay, I'll do that."
I mean, she is like definition yes man.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then he had his second Portugal party, and I think she went to that one.
Yeah. And I mean, little things like that. And then all of the times too early on when she would have to talk to Dan and he would be like, well, you left work on Friday and you didn't come back until Monday.
Yeah.
What were you doing all weekend? Why did you not come to any of the events over the weekend? And, she's saying, well, I went and had dinner with my parents. My dad's struggling with MS. Like, there's a lot going on in my family. That happened several times.
Yeah.
And I was mad for May, but she was not mad.
Yeah.
She never seemed like, man, my boss, like.
Yeah. Insensitive.
Yes, yeah. No sympathy. Like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, come on. I think I would get mad at that. And I think the more it would happen, I would be like, is this really where I want to work? If I'm like being told I really have to come and post on my social media at these parties and I have to come to events on the weekend, I'm not getting paid to come on the weekend.
Yeah, for real.
What if I don't want to come on the weekend?
Yeah. No,
I'm off
but
work.
that was the thing. Why would you not want to come? That was kind of like the
Yeah.
argument to everything. I when she would have those interactions with Dan, especially about like going back to check on her family, I was like, myself was exhausted. You know what I mean? Because I was thinking like, she couldn't even get her point across to him without him interrupting and saying, well, why didn't you do, it's cool. He kept saying, I mean, that's really cool that you go to your families. That's really cool. But it was just exhausting for me.
Right.
That was exhausting for me because I know how frustrated I get when I'm in a situation like that, and I'm not that I'm trying to create excuses because I don't want to create excuses, but I want to, I guess, justify like, hey, I was just going to see my parents. My dad, like you said, is really sick, but Dan was just kind of
like, well, why didn't you share that on social media?
Yeah.
There's people that can help you with that. There's other people going through that. They should know your experience. It was like everything she said, he just kept going further and further. He had another justification.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
I guess it was easier for her just to be like, yeah, you're right, But that was where, like, I feel like as soon as I left that office, I would have been like, what just happened? What in the world? So I think that's when she became less relatable to me, which I think was part of maybe the point.
I think part of me could relate to May because she really loved her job and she wanted to do a good job there and she wanted to progress.
Oh, yeah.
And so I understood that. But then also, Annie hooked her up with that insurance. And so I think she felt like that I have to be at the peak at the circle so that my family can survive.
Yeah.
And I understand that as someone who, I guess, is supporting a family at home. You know, when you have a job you love and it's what's supporting or paying the bills, you really will take criticism and not necessarily, you'll question it, but not like you would if it was just I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
I get what you're saying, yeah.
So I could relate to her on that point, but like you were saying, I could not relate to her on she just kept getting deeper and deeper and deeper.
And never
not questioning
it.
at all. Yeah, like I said, I would question things, but she never one time does that like cross her thoughts or actions or anything.
Okay, we're jumping here, but the called-in storyline, here's this mysterious guy. You can't find him anywhere on social media. You work for a tech company. Right. You have access to so many things. Your friend Annie is like, I have no idea who this is. I've looked. I can't find him. Are you sure? And she never questions it. I feel like I would constantly be trying to figure out, who is this guy? I mean, she's attracted to him. Yeah. She keeps having these interactions with him. But she never tries to track him down. She tries calling him. He doesn't answer. And she's just kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
He'll get back to me.
2 weeks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He'll get back to me.
Should we question her person, though? Because she's these interactions some of them are in the bathroom. Like, should we be like, come on, what kind of person are you?
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Okay, well, speaking of Annie, I know that I had written, especially at the beginning of the book, I was very annoyed with Annie as a character because she was typical. It reminded me of one of those characters that's like, I'm just one of the guys.
Oh,
Do you know what I'm saying?
For sure.
Yeah.
Like a pick-me girl.
Yeah, really, though, it was. But she could, because the jokes that she would say and kind of the way she carried herself and the things that she would say to May. I don't know. I felt like her character was very typical. I do think that she was very tragic at the end.
I do too.
Because she was desperate. And I did question, though, where she was like, she goes, I'm just going to go and slip into a coma. And then she literally did slip into a coma. And I just thought, did she like overdose or I don't know.
I mean,
yeah. But
maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. As I was reading this, I pictured Kate Hudson playing her character because I feel like Kate Hudson in movies is very much like, I'm one of the guys. I'll drink a beer with you.
Yeah.
I'll, make these crude jokes. And I think too at the beginning, I think she thinks she's better than May. And like almost like has this savior complex with May
I agree with that.
I'm 2 years older than you. I saved you in college. I've made you who you are. I've gotten you this job.
I'm not like other girls.
Yeah. I'm so different. I'm so different. But then, like, as the book went on and May started doing so well and just becoming that yes man, not questioning anything, I think Annie started to realize, well, she's about to go further than me, and I think she started getting less confident in herself. And I think that, her taking part in that project, volunteering to do the DNA ancestry project was almost like, well, May's transparent. I need to do something to be talked about.
Sure. Yeah.
And it kind of backfired on her.
Well, and then she had kind of been scolded essentially in that meeting with the wise men and the group of 40. So
right.
I was expecting something like that to happen.
Yeah.
I think that was one of my things with Dave Eggers' writing, especially in this book specifically. And I guess it goes into the Captain in the Glory as well, is sometimes he's just too obvious. It's
predictable.
Yeah, especially when May is bringing up Demoxy and Annie's kind of questioning it, which it's kind of funny to me. Annie was already so ingrained, but she's really her and Colden are really the only people questioning the circle.
Right.
And they
Mercer too.
Yeah. But those two are like in it.
Yeah, they're in it and questioning it. I get what you're saying.
But whenever she because they were talking about trying to find someone. Remember, Annie was like talking to the camera, and she was saying, "We need to find someone for past project or whatever."
Yes.
And I thought May was going to volunteer at first because I thought, well, she's trying to do as much as she can. She's already transparent, so what's another thing?
Right.
But then when she got scolded in that meeting, I was like, oh, well, Annie's going to do this so she can be back on top. So I think that was some of my issues with Eggers, especially in this, because going back to Colden,
that was supposed to be our big surprise, that Colden was Ty, one of the wise men. But I mean,
well, when he like we talked about,
we talked earlier in the week. One of the scenes, he takes May down to the basement,
and down to the basement, literally to a cave.
Access. Yes, he has all of this access, and he's just scanning all these doors, and it's like, come on, May,
who has this?
Yeah, who is this?
And Annie kept saying, I think it's a spy, and I think that was him trying to make us doubt it, but a spy would not have that. The spy would not have that access. Yeah, there were just little things like that could have been done differently. I guess I've seen similar things like that done differently in other books, and they've been done really well. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely.
And I've not ever read an interview from Eggers. Typically when I read, especially with living authors, I'll go and try to like listen to their voice and stuff like that. So I may not know anything, but it almost feels like sometimes Eggers thinks that we're too dumb to catch on. Do you know what I'm saying? Because I don't know, I was zero surprised when Ty was Colden, which you know that. And then again, we're talking about with Annie. I was not surprised at all when she was Well, that even goes to when May was having the meeting with Eamon after she stole the kayak. Immediately, I knew he was trying to get her to go. That was going to be her punishment, was to go transparent.
Yeah.
And then the last line of the book of that chapter or whatever was like, and Annie went transparent.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, that was supposed to be your big
that.
like cliffhanger at the end of that chapter. Like, oh my gosh, mind blown.
Right, yeah.
No, that whole conversation was going towards that. Yeah.
So I think he could have done better at that. That was one of my biggest issues with his writing.
And I know I had told you earlier in the week that I had been a little disappointed with the ending of it. And I think that was part of it, was that I was hoping for more of a surprise or more of a twist to it, which I think he set it up that he thought it would be a surprise.
I think so too.
That Calden was Ty. So I think he thought he was giving us a plot twist, a big surprise. But, I mean, he had left a pretty good trail. The breadcrumbs were there leading you to that all along. You don't even have to be an English teacher to pick up on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think even, too, at the end where Calden's trying to talk May into, you know, stopping the circle and revealing some stuff, and she's thinking back through that process, I think that he was trying to curve us towards thinking she would not reveal who he was, but she was so far in at that point. I do think I didn't have an issue necessarily with with it ending with her being so committed to the circle, because she was so far in.
Yeah, she was in it.
If she would have turned, that would have been so unrealistic. Nothing was going to turn her.
I think, though, I was hoping more like a negative consequence for her. Like maybe her being brought down.
Which may be in the next book.
Maybe.
But I think I was kind of, man, this is going to sound awful. You know, it just mentions that Calden was demoted to an advisor, or Ty was. I think that I was kind of hoping like that there would be a big consequence towards him.
For sure.
I don't want to say death, but maybe. You know?
I mean,
yeah, like he silently disappeared, you know, something that would lead us to think that,
or like a big public punishment, you know, like you're going to speak out again, you know, we're going to show you what's going to happen, which, I mean.
Or made him go transparent, because he would have hated that.
Oh, he would have, yeah. Which I think by the end of the book, it was getting more and more dystopian, like out there.
Yeah.
Like, I think Stenton was definitely the one pushing it towards that. You know, he was the one that was all for the more extreme. You know, like that idea meeting when, you know, making the criminals glow red, knowing who has committed crimes, criminals, punishment for them. You know, he was like lighting up at that. So those more dystopian aspects of complete control, he was all for. So I think maybe that by the end of the book, we were getting closer to that.
I was thinking last night, is this, because when we looked at the Every, it did say dystopian.
Yes.
And I was thinking, is this a dystopia? It's definitely the birth of a dystopia.
And I feel like we don't see that a lot in literature.
Either, So I give credit to him for that.
I do too. I do too. I feel like you're seeing more of the early stages of it, where it's like, you know, with The Handmaid's Tale, you're thrown into it already. You know, you don't necessarily get an entire novel of how did this start. With The Hunger Games, you're thrown into it already.
1984.
Yes.
Yeah, Fahrenheit. So, it's already, we're like in the middle of everything.
Yeah. And you're starting to see more of a revolution already.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess that was one of my questions too, was, you know, or not, I don't know if it's a question or more of just a statement. I feel like the book was very one-dimensional in the sense of you really only saw people for everything, thinking everything was awesome.
Yeah.
And, I mean, maybe that's because it hadn't reached that dystopian aspect yet. You know, it was still more of a utopia than a dystopia.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe if the story had went on, you would have started to see more people in that revolution and rebellion against it. But, I mean, other than Mercer, I mean, Mercer was the voice of the resistance, really.
You were talking about how most people we interact with agreed with it, and really there were only 4 people who didn't. It was Calden, which he was the innovator who started it. Which I'm trying to think of the documentary on Netflix. I don't know if you've seen it, but basically it's talking about what social media does to our minds. And I think it's the guy that invented Snapchat. He's like, I don't let my kids on social media.
Yeah,
and to me that was revealing. You know, and then you've got her parents, and they're against it. They are for it at first, which I think is typical of people that age. They're naive to what's really going on.
But I think once she went transparent and they realized you don't really have any genuine interactions anymore.
Right.
I think that was their big moment of ooh. And when all the cameras, the sea change cameras were put in their house.
Yeah. And then Mercer is that kind of, I guess, outdoors person. I don't know how to describe exactly him, but
he's the naturalist.
The naturalist. I think that's a good way to put it, because they're all representative of these people who are currently against social media and all these devices, and because I think at large the populace is for these things, you know?
Right?
And so it makes sense to me that most of the people we meet are for the circle. Right. I had a note here that when I was at Tech, there were a couple in our department, and they wanted to work at Apple. It was Apple, Apple, Apple. That's all they talked about. Apple, Apple, Apple. Everything they had was Apple. And that's where they work now. They work at Apple in California.
Wow.
And so sometimes I would think about them during that, because I thought, man, like they were definitely in it. Yeah. You know, which I'm off social media now, but I haven't seen any updates.
You're so different,
I'm so
Drew.
cool. I haven't seen anything from them in a while, but the last that I know, they were still working at Apple. So it just made me think of those people. But also, you know, Apple's campus now is a circle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, I don't know if that was a direct allusion to Apple or not, but
it would be interesting to look that up.
Yeah. I'm sure there's somewhere where he talks about that's. I'm really disappointed in myself for not doing more
background
research on Eggers. Yeah. Do you think Annie sucks?
I don't. I disliked her at the beginning, but I became more compassionate towards her by the end of it, especially since I started disliking May so much. I think then Annie started seeming more realistic to me. Did she have annoying qualities? Absolutely. Would I be friends with her in real life? Probably not. But did I feel bad for her, what she was going through?
Yeah, I did.
I mean, I wouldn't want that stuff publicized. And I mean, I would want someone to understand that I wouldn't want that publicized and help me try to stop it.
Yeah. You know, though, like, I think that Eggers is doing a good job with that, of showing how ridiculous some of this stuff is, you know, because, I mean, to be transparent, we have a genealogist in my family, and there's a Confederate commander or general or something like that in our line, you know, and I have told my wife, like, I don't think that guy would like me very much, and I probably wouldn't like him very much, you know, and so it's odd. It's odd to me when people get punished for their ancestors like that, but that's what happens, you know. It's ridiculous a little bit, and this, like we talked about, how the smiles and frowns, how, well, I gave a smile to this sexual assault victim, and I gave a frown to the people who did it. Like, that actually did something. It didn't do anything, and people think that it does, like on Facebook, a like or a dislike, you know?
I mean, I made a note. May at one point was spiraling because she sent a frown to this group in Guatemala with guns, and she was like, I sent them a frown. They're going to come after me. Maybe there's people here. They're going to come kill me. And I'm thinking, you think they care about your frown?
I mean, didn't even see it.
That's the equivalent of disliking something on Facebook. Like, man, you got them.
Yeah.
You really got them.
Yeah.
They hate you, May.
Yeah. I think he does a good job of showing how ridiculous we've gotten with that.
And I mean, I do think, like, I made a note. I was like, that is a bit of satire in pointing out how ridiculous social media has gotten with the likes and the dislikes. And I mean, now you can send care, you can laugh, you can, there's all these different emotions that you can do on Facebook. And, I mean, part of that makes me question, like, what is so attractive about social media then? It makes me start to question, why am I so addicted to social media? Because I am addicted to social media. But reading this and like recognizing, oh my gosh, it's so ridiculous, this spiral that May went through of, she was one of those Demoxy questions of, isn't May so awesome? And, it was like, 300 people that
368.
that downed her, that frowned, that said no, she wasn't, frowned her. And that's what started her big spiral, was her trying to figure out who are these 368 people. And then once she found out she could figure out who they were, she didn't really want to know.
Yeah. I did think that there was going to be a change in her then.
I did too.
Yeah.
I thought, man, is this... And, we kept getting all these little hints about that tear in her. Yeah. Her feeling the tear when she was deep in those spirals. Part of that spiral, she went and she did a whole bunch of customer engagements. She did surveys. And it was this fast track of, I'm trying to get a higher score, I'm trying to help the customer service, I'm trying to help myself, I'm trying to get a higher party score. And that's when she would feel that tear. And I'm like, is that the tear between the old May and the new May? Did she eventually just fully tear and the new May take over? Is that old May gone? Well, I don't know.
When she would have these incidents, she would always go back to customer experience. And thinking about it now that we're talking about it, that would essentially, she was going back home. But I guess that showed really how far deep in she had gotten, because she could have gone back home and reconciled with her parents.
Absolutely.
And went back to the utility company. Would that have been as glamorous of a life? No. But she would still have those important relationships, because essentially, I mean, Annie was like her very best friend. She lost that relationship. Mercer, I don't know that Mercer was necessarily like an ally for her. I think he was definitely her character foil.
Yes.
But she lost that relationship with him. And
I mean, even though like most of the interactions with Mercer were negative, it was still a person for her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's nice
he wanted the best
to have
a little bit of back and forth with a person, a little bit of disagreement with someone that and have had a history with. And I mean, she lost that.
Yeah. Well, you could tell that Mercer wanted what was best for her, So he was definitely someone in her corner, but she definitely antagonized him for sure.
Mercer was that realness, and I think once she lost, or once she went transparent, all of her interactions heading forward were all very fake. And I made a note, glossy enthusiasm was how they described one of the conversations between her and Annie. And, Mercer kept it real with her. And he still sent her letters, keeping it real with her, calling her out.
Yeah.
And I mean, she lost that. And I think that's where, going back to Annie, like, I feel bad for her because May didn't really feel bad about losing these relationships. Not once was she like, I miss my parents. Not once was she like, man, I really miss my friend Annie.
Yeah.
She started getting annoyed by Annie.
I know, yeah.
And, she was like, our time's up. They'd have to go to the bathroom to talk, and she would turn the sound off, and she would be like, trying to speed Annie up. Annie was going through this like deep emotional crisis, this identity crisis, and May was like, you have 3 minutes. Time's up. I've got to go. I'm turning it back on.
Yeah.
You'll be fine. And I mean, that's where I feel bad for Annie. Annie lost the pride in her ancestry. Annie lost her parents. Annie lost her best friend. Annie lost this pride that she took in her work. You know what I mean? And she felt it.
Yeah.
And that's where I was like, man, like, I feel bad for Annie.
For sure.
I don't I wouldn't be friends with Annie, but I still feel for her.
I don't think I would be either. Yeah. It's funny that you said that because I have in my notes here that one thing that I had noticed when she went transparent, that everyone's reaction to her was polished and rehearsed. That was like what I kept seeing come up too. It was said their voice sounded rehearsed. So because that was something that I thought was, none of these interactions are genuine. These people know they're on camera, and they're saying things and acting towards her. She thinks that they're being so genuine, but they're not.
They were all just so cringy. Like, I mean, I feel like these people were using their best customer service voice with her. You know, I mean, you can't really talk about anything with a person wearing a video camera.
Well, even Annie used her as a means to promote her project. Yeah. Even Francis, that relationship is superficial because
Absolutely.
She would run back to him, and I mean, he only wanted one thing when every interaction she had with him after after the first time Calden kind of ghosted her. Every interaction she had with Francis after that led to one thing.
It was a transaction. May needed a person, and she knew Francis would be there because Francis was your typical guy.
Yeah.
That was just like
100. He was 100. Yeah. She rated him 100 every time.
100.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't like Francis myself, but
he was kind of, I don't know.
Yeah.
Gross.
Yeah, he was gross and kind of pathetic too.
Yes.
But I guess that shows, how far deep May had gotten, how
because she did recognize at the beginning that he was kind of pathetic. Once he outed their relationship, she was like,
and how do you go back to somebody that does that?
Filmed your relationship and then wouldn't delete the video.
Yeah.
I mean, she was mad about that.
Yeah.
And that was before she was too far gone.
Yeah.
But then I think once she was gone, she kept going back, and she wasn't really mad about it anymore. Like, that was like revenge porn. Every time she would go back to him, it would end in some way that was like humiliating to her. And I kept thinking, like, why are you going back? Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
It was just
How many
cringy.
times do we see that here at school?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's
sad.
Yeah.
I mean, I made a note that a lot of these relationships in the book were very high school.
Yeah.
That I felt like the circle deep down was very immature.
Yeah.
Very surface level, very toxic. And it's stuff I see going on with our students.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, that's even what Mercer said. Remember, he was like, the nerds and the losers and the immature have taken over. And I was thinking, man, that is true, because all of this is about, which, I mean, I'm a words of affirmation person, but it's all about getting affirmation somehow, or showing how I'm better than you type of stuff. And, I mean, ultimately, is that not like the root of immaturity?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I do want to say though, another thing that Eggers I didn't think did a good job of was at the end where they dumped the shark into the tank, and I think it was pretty clear that was representative of the circle, and it was destroying everything that was innocent, especially the seahorses and the baby seahorses. Like it destroyed and devoured everything that was innocent. And then Eggers even says, like, I think Eamon's like, or one of them called in, one of the wise men, they were like, the shark, that's the circle. We're just, and that was another time where I was like, we really didn't need you to explain that. We picked that up.
I also felt, though, that like the shark was Stenton in a way.
Yeah.
Like, I think
Eamon's just as insidious, though.
I do too.
Honestly, I think Eamon is worse than Stenton because Eamon has this
disguise
Uncle
of
Eamon.
I'm a good guy.
Yeah, and I think that ultimately he's the worst of them all because Stenton is Stenton. You know, he is who he is, and he knows who he is.
That's true.
And Eamon is, he wants them to call him Uncle Eamon.
Yeah.
And I think that he's.
Tom Hanks plays him in the movie.
Well, when I saw the cast, I was thinking, who does Tom Hanks play? And then it was like, I mean, that's obvious who Tom Hanks is.
Yeah. This good guy, you know, overall good guy. And then you're like, ooh.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
You get a cringy feeling, a little creepy. Ooh, are you really good?
I do think that Eggers did a good job with May's character because I've not read, I mean, I don't know, just thinking off the top of my head, I don't know that I've read any books where the protagonist might actually be the antagonist. Do you know what I'm saying? Because that's what I was thinking at the end of the book. Calden was the good guy.
Yeah.
Mercer was the good guy. Is May an anti-hero? Not
she's
really.
never even really a hero.
Yeah, because in Breaking Bad, you kind of cheer for Walter White.
Yeah.
In Sons of Anarchy, I don't want Jax Teller to get caught.
I mean, I think about You.
I'm an anti-hero.
No, the book You, the TV show You, Joe Goldberg. I mean, he's a serial killer, but you kind of root for him. Dexter, yeah, you root for him.
Yeah.
I don't root for May.
At no point did I root for her.
wanted the book to end with May getting a consequence.
Yeah.
I wanted her to go down.
I did too, yeah.
I was like, take me down.
Yeah.
But then that was my disappointment,
Yeah.
was that it ended and she was still rising.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give him credit for that.
Yeah.
And I did like What Is the What. I know you've not read that. I really did like What Is the What. So I'm not going to say that he's terrible. If he ever comes across this, I don't want him to think that. I just thought that there were some things in here that it was
And I mean,
typical, generic. There was some typical. There was some generic to
predictability.
it. Very predictable. But then also it was kind of like a. I told Crockett that it was kind of like a ta-da.
Yeah.
There it is, and everybody's just sitting there, kind of like.
Crickets,
We already knew that was going to happen.
We guessed that. Yep.
Yeah. So
I did like the book though.
No, I liked it. Yeah, I'm glad I read it.
Yeah, I am too.
That's one thing that I was thinking though. Crockett and I have talked about 1984 and Fahrenheit and how impactful they are now, and how we're looking back here, basically with both books. 60 years to the future, 60, 70 years later, and there's a lot of things that it's kind of like, man, how did they got that spot on, and that's why I put it in the notes.
Will this be looked at?
in 10 years? Like in 10 years, that's how rapid I think that this could happen.
Well, I mean, this book was published 2013. Yeah.
So
I mean,
in 10 years,
even now, this seems more realistic than it probably did in 2013.
Yeah, for sure. With the democracy stuff, with the recent election, and I know that there's probably people out here, if there is anyone that listens to this, that probably strongly disagree with this, but the democracy stuff with the tech companies getting involved directly into education. Remember that? They were like, the Department of Education is relying on us to find this data now.
Yeah.
And then essentially we're forcing you to participate.
Yeah. We're locking your device.
Right, yeah. It seems noble on one hand, but like I know that there are people who probably think what Elon Musk is leading is noble, because who wouldn't want our government spending to go down? I think, obviously, but the consequences of that are kind of sinister. No one's really thinking about not just the people losing their jobs, but the families relying on some of this stuff on way down the line. And it is kind of eerie. It was eerie to read this, and then, like I said, to see the picture of Elon Musk in the Oval Office, standing behind the president, and he's the one answering the questions, not the president. It was him answering. It was very kind of like this is kind of here right now.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, that's an observation, not a political stance.
I do want to ask you. You said one of your takeaways for the book is, I think this book could have been shaved down about 100 to 150 pages. What would you get rid of? What would you take out to still have the message?
That's tough. There were just, without naming anything specifically, there were just a couple times that I thought that we were just kind of teetering along, that some of the reading was unnecessary. There were times that I would skip full paragraphs because I thought, I don't need to know this information. I thought that there was, like I said, some things that I felt were like very typical, very generic. There were times that I had trouble buying into what was going on, because the democracy thing, that was one thing I put. That's one of the few things that I think could actually happen.
Yeah.
As scary as that sounds, I could see in 5 or 6 years, again, with as much involvement as these tech companies have in Washington right now, that Facebook saying, hey, you can't access Facebook until you vote, and you can register here. Because when I saw that they said you could register to vote on the Circle, I thought, well, that would be really convenient.
Yeah.
But there were a few things that I thought that were very unrealistic like the sea change cameras, you know, I was thinking there's no way a company would get away with that right now. You know, I think that is something that Congress would. The transparency with the politicians. There's no way. Which I understand that was like the main point. So I was willing to buy into that. But there were just a few things that I thought we could have taken away. There were a few times, like I said, where I felt like Eggers was kind of like creating something to lead us down, and then he just couldn't help himself. He had to show us it also.
Right.
And I think if he could have taken some of that away and left it up to us to put that together. So I think that if it would have taken some of that away, some of that typicalness that showed up, I do think that it would have been real. It was impactful, but I think it really would have been like a gut punch. Do you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So, what do you think about that?
I agree. I think some parts of the book dragged on a little bit, which one of the things that I was thinking about, like, man, we're getting so much description of the bay and all these kayaking trips. I was like, what is the point of this? But then when I was looking through your notes, you had talked about how it was such a sharp contrast to the circle. I got that. And so, I mean, I get why we had that. Do I think we needed as many scenes?
Yeah.
Maybe not, because, I mean, I also feel like Mercer was a sharp contrast. And, like, all the memories with Mercer were all very Grand Canyon, kayaking trips, rafting. So I think, you know, knowing that her history with Mercer was also like that. Also, the shark stuff. I feel like there was a lot of very aquatic.
Yeah, there was a lot of things that.
I mean, but that
tied to the ocean and water and
dragged
stuff.
on though. Some of those scenes.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there could have been some things taken down, or not taken down, but shortened. Could have been shortened.
Yeah.
It was still good though.
It was a great book.
I liked it.
Not great, good.
It was good. Yeah,
I wouldn't say great. Yeah,
no, I wouldn't either. I don't know that it necessarily warrants a sequel either. I'm gonna read it probably, but I'm kind of like.
Well, after reading the description, I don't know if we're gonna get May in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I could kind of see her becoming one of the
like
wise
knowing,
men.
yes.
Yeah.
You know, maybe hearing her name mentioned.
Yeah. To me, and I've not looked at the anything about the Every, but to me, the best way that I would want to see it go is May is one of the wise men, but she would be the antagonist of the whole story. You know, that she's like completely. I mean, I think she already is.
Yeah.
But just so far
off the edge,
farther than Eamon and Stenton themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Like she is in deep, and I think that would be kind of cool to see her as the, I guess, like the leader of the whole thing. You know.
Well, I mean, I do think something you mentioned earlier. Something that would take her further is the fact that she did go transparent and the wise men did not.
Yeah, she never questions that.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I could see people thinking she was a hero because of that and liking her more than the actual three wise men.
Yeah. Ooh, and then they turn against her.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would
because
be cool.
she's taken their notoriety.
Thunder.
Yeah.
That would be cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Maybe we should write the sequel.
Oh, gosh. Fan fiction. I've already said that on one episode. New running gag. Okay. Well, it's about time for the bell to ring. So, what did you rate this? 1 to 5 stars.
3.
3. That's about where I've got it, too. What about 1 to 20? I know that's probably a little bit tougher.
I said 12.
12? Okay. I think I've got it at like a 9 or a 10, somewhere around there. So, yeah. We talked about Cold Mountain, and I said how I feel like that's like the ultimate 3. Mm-hmm. So I think that this is probably just a little bit less than that. So, 3. There were times that I thought maybe a 2. Mm-hmm. Not because I hated it, but just because I thought about some of the writing, it was just... Yeah. But I think Eggers is good. Maybe just don't be so long-winded, bro. Yeah.
I will say, so having read it 2021, doing a reread, I don't think I will reread it again. I think I'm done.
I won't. Yeah, I don't have a desire to reread it.
The purpose of rereading it was for the podcast.
Yeah.
So I could freshen up, but I'm done.
But do you know what? I think if it wasn't for If it wasn't for the sex scenes, I think it would be a good book for your honors class.
I do too.
For your freshman honors. Yeah, I think and if it wasn't so long,
I agree.
I think that it would be a good book for your honors
even with
kids.
it being so long, I mean, it was a quick read. Like, I agree. It doesn't feel like a long book, but I mean, the sex scenes take it over the edge.
We couldn't do that.
No.
Yeah, with our, well, you might could with like an AP senior class.
Yeah.
But I do think it would be more at the freshman level. So I don't know. Maybe Eggers can write you how circle-ish would that be? A censored version.
Come on, Eggers.